Hey guys, Brian here. Welcome back to Direct Admission. And we have an amazing interview with one of my coworkers, Jeffrey Bellens. He goes over how to leverage debt, how to leverage credit, all to live the most comfortable and rich life they could possibly can. And that's what's amazing about it. He breaks it down so simply and it just makes it look so easy to do. So if you want to learn how to leverage credit, leverage debt, this is the interview for you. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's jump right into the interview. So we have my coworker Jeffrey Bellens here, and he's our new coworker to me. But I found out that he's very financially literate, does a lot of handiwork. He has a lot of side hustles and side jobs and all that. So Jeff, let people know who you are and what you do, man.
Well, you already said my name. I'm Jeff. I am another very ambitious nurse who's just trying to survive and not work till 100 years old. But yeah, no, I do. I have a lot of side hustles. Part of it being like I do infusions. At some point I owned like a little LLC company thing that did transportation, but that's a different story. It's just really hard to find trustworthy people, especially when you can't really be there 100% of the time. And yeah, I work full time in the EP lab with Brian. I do on call at another hospital close by, which is funny because I've been with this hospital since June of last year, and I've been called in once until yesterday morning.
Once, and they're like, "No, man, we're just paying this guy. Let's get him in here."
And it wasn't even a real STEMI. They called me in. I run because I was, when you go months not expecting anything, you're just very ill prepared for it to happen. So when they call me in, I'm like, what? And then my fiance's like, are you going to go? I'm like, yes. So I run out of here. And I get in just to find out it's just another patient with no chest pain, nothing. They just had
diagnostic
high troponins, and the doctor wanted a cath, and we ended up doing nothing because it was nothing. But hey, if you're paying me time and a half for 4 hours for the 2 hours I'm there, like, please be my guest.
For an easy thing where it's like there's no severity to it.
No, yeah. So it's a nice gig, but I realized that it takes a lot of time. On call sounded good being home and thinking that we could do everything around here, but it really is not realistic because there's a lot of things that you want to do in this outside of the 30-minute window. So this month is the last month, and then that's it.
All right. So let's backtrack a little bit. When did you graduate from nursing?
2019.
Oh, you were a baby. Dang.
Yeah. Went to Ramapo. Did my 4-year bachelor's program there. My parents were like, yeah, you're not staying home. So I lived in Hackensack and the school was in Mawa, but I dormed.
You dormed it and all that. And did you want to go into nursing from the beginning, or like how did you get into it?
So my mom is a nurse. She still works. So I knew I wanted to do something in healthcare. My parents are fairly realistic in terms of being like, yeah, you want to be a doctor, and that's nice and all. And that's I don't know if you know the stereotypes of Africans, like,
it has to be,
go be a doctor, go be a pilot. Like, they were fairly realistic and were like, we have nothing against like you going to school for 10 years, 15 years, whatever, but you just have to know, like, you have to have your priorities straight. Like, if you're in school, you got to understand that, like, you're not going to actually be able to enjoy life till you're 35 or whatever, depending on what kind of doctor you want to be. So my mom was like, you can be a nurse, and there's a lot of avenues that you can go to with nursing, and it's not terrible money. Like, she's like, I made a living out of it, and they live fairly comfortably with no issues. So it was like fairly a no-brainer. In terms of going into healthcare, I don't think I'm good at anything else, honestly.
Says the guy that like works on his own house, works on his cars. I'm not really good at shit out here, but I think this is it.
Yeah, so like it was like I at least I thought I wasn't good at anything until like obviously like I got older and I started doing things. I was like, oh, I could do it. But it was going into nursing school. It's like, is nursing or nothing?
Mhm.
Like nursing school is hard. People, we started with a lot of people. A lot of people dropped out or failed out, and for me, it wasn't a choice because I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do.
I'm already here. Might as well try to finish this.
Yeah. So like it was for like it was a no-brainer for deciding whether I want to be a nurse, doctor, or something different. But I just think about it. I sit down and I think about it. I don't have any regrets, but I'm like, I probably could have been a tech, been trained in a job, and just worked my way up to higher income without going to college. And
Mhm.
yeah, like student loans, like you pay it off, but still, like it would have been nice to start earlier. And but I'm still appreciative of the job security that nursing brings. And you know,
It's true. And what kind of African are you?
I'm from Ghana, so it's West
Ghana.
Africa. We're Ghana is in the middle of like
Yeah.
Nigeria, Ivory Coast, like Liberia, like they're all around us. So yeah,
So like not to like generalize because like a lot of my
yeah,
friends were Nigerian and they had like the same thing, same like schooling
yep,
mentality. Like
yep,
the parents told all my friends like if you're going to school for something, you don't stop at a bachelorate. You have to get the master's
you
or
have to,
the doctorate.
yeah,
Like they all became like pharmacists or
yeah,
doctors, whether it's MD or DO
yeah,
or lawyers. They all have to have some sort of like
seems,
super
yeah,
high
status,
education.
yeah,
Like yeah,
yes.
status and like have to
It's the
be
same
proud of
thing.
you kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, every day I talk to my mom on the phone. Like, even though she was very supportive and saying like nursing is a good route, she's like, so find a school for your DMP yet? Not even like masters, like find a school for your DMP yet? And like I just have to come up with a different reason why I'm not in school yet every
So,
time.
is that a thing you want to go into? Like, are you looking into going to
Yeah,
school?
I definitely want to go back to school. I just for the longest time I wasn't sure what I want to go to school for.
Hmm.
In terms of like being an MP or being something else. But
Hmm.
I think if whenever I decide to go, I'll probably go into education to
Yeah,
kind of
that's
give me the flexibility of like I could work in the EP lab and then still be able to do a faculty job somewhere else, like, you know,
that's true. My brother's an educator
yeah,
at Sinai,
right,
and he was also doing like kind of like part-time faculty job at NYU, and he also worked at Ramapo for a
yeah,
while too. And then he's like, it's a nice gig, and like
yeah,
you could hopefully if you're able to get the online classes, that's the
yeah, that would be
easiest way
really
to
nice.
teach.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
he's like, when you're on vacation, they're paying you like 12 to
yeah,
15 grand for like
yeah,
a grand a week just to read off some
just,
PowerPoints to some
yeah,
kids.
yeah. So
And
it's
then if you look at maybe I could put a graphic up when this uploads is the NPs at
uh-huh,
Sinai and the
uh-huh.
educators are paid at the same rate. So less
That's crazy.
less responsibility,
Yep.
probably a little bit more paperwork, but
Yeah, but I
no
mean,
patient
no
care.
patient care liability is significantly less. Like those are all things that kind of come
Mhm.
into play because as an MP, your liability is thousands of dollars maybe, and then as
Mhm.
a nurse, I think I pay like 170 a year for my
Yeah, your
liability
malpractice,
insurance.
yeah. That's it. Like,
So,
I think I'm
yeah.
good.
So it's yeah, it really is. I think a lot of people like the idea of having a prescribing power, and
Mhm,
and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. I fancy that, but
mhm.
for like it just wouldn't fit. It wouldn't be it for me.
And you could, like, see a lot of our coworkers
Uh-huh.
have their NPs
Yeah,
or even some of them have, like, their doctorates, like, the
yeah,
medical doctors in whatever country they came from, and then
yeah,
they came here,
yeah,
and they're nurses, and so it's not like, it's definitely doable because and
yeah,
also, like, our job, for the most part, once you get used to it,
mhm,
it gets pretty easy,
yeah,
and it gives
yeah,
you the
really.
time flexibility for a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely it does. And it's funny because this morning I was talking to my fiance and she's like thinking, because we're planning a wedding in November, and she's like, I'm thinking of going on a diet. And I was talking to her that a year, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I lost a ton of weight. And
Uh-huh.
it wasn't because like I was being healthy. I was just drinking more, like, and not eating much. And I was like, that's not realistic. Now, like, I'm on a diet, but I'm trying to make it a lifestyle. So I'm losing like 2 pounds a week, but it's still, it feels good. And then I was like, but I'm only able to do it because of the job I have. If I worked in a unit, like, I go in from 7:30 p.m., I don't get to sit until 4 a.m. And that's if another
Yep.
patient doesn't, crap out or ring the
And then you like
bell.
binge eat.
Yeah. So like you've been wanting to pee since 7:30 and you don't get to do it till 5 a.m. It's
That's
not
that's
healthy.
I commend you a lot if you're losing weight where we work, because there's always someone bringing in a lot of
Oh my
food.
God. Yeah. No, I
You
think
walk
I
in
cracked
and
the
they're like, "What? We have
code.
food again? Someone brought cake?"
I cracked the code. I think the issue is when I would get home, if I'm off the next day, I'm like, oh, binge eat and watch TV before I go to bed. So I'm up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just eating everything in sight and then going to bed after. But I've been good at like not eating past like 7 p.m.
So you can
Just,
eat what they bring to
yeah.
work, but then
Oh,
you just
yeah.
don't eat after.
Nope. That's the only way to do it because, man, there's food there every day. It's crazy.
Every day. It is wild. But, so, like, the question is that when
uh,
you got hired for us, we're
mhm.
all like, "Who is this?" Because, like, you already see, like, at work, it takes a while to get into, I guess, the cath and EP lab,
Yeah,
and it's usually
everywhere.
by, like, reference, and then everyone I was like, I was even asking, I was like, "Who
Yeah,
is this guy?
who's
Who
this
is this
guy
reference? Who's
now?
this reference? Like, who got this guy in here?" And
Yeah,
then but, like, apparently you're one of the ones that just saw the opening and they took
I
you
just
before
applied.
everyone else. I was like, "Dang, he has
Yeah,
to know someone."
it was very unexpected. So like the whole story is I moved far from my job that I had and I couldn't do on call. So unfortunately it wasn't really a decision that I would have liked to make. It was more like we have to let you go or you have to, find a way to do on call.
Mm,
So at that point, I have a home, but I'm not spending most of the time in there because I'm sleeping close to the hospital
yeah,
and to be on call. It wasn't feasible. So I started looking for jobs.
yeah,
And, like it's just like cath lab or EP lab
EP.
RNs on Google or whatever. And Sinai came up. I applied. I applied to Sinai. I applied to a couple other places. SK for their radiology department,
Mhm,
where eventually I just was like, nah, I don't want to do X-rays or whatever that they do. It's CAT
yeah.
scans. But yeah, I was surprised. I got a call. Like this is maybe 2 weeks after I applied. I got a call from
Oh,
a
wow.
recruiter from Sinai. So I answered, and they're like, "Oh, we would like to schedule an interview for like another recruiter for the cardiology department." And I was like, "Sure." So when is it going to be happening? And she's like, "Maybe in the next week or so. So keep your phone open." Took another 3 weeks or so. They finally called me, and they scheduled
Another interview?
another interview with the manager that was there.
Mhm.
Before I came in and came to the hospital. It's funny because I was so excited when I got a phone call that like I wasn't thinking when I was scheduling the time for the interview.
Mhm.
Scheduled 9 a.m. for Sinai, but then I had another interview at Jersey Shore Medical Center for 11 a.m.
Oh,
And
damn, so that's, like, really far from each other.
yeah, and it's a long drive, and I'm really hoping that the interview itself takes about a half hour, and I'm going to sprint to the parking garage and just bolt out of there. But it's New York City, and you're
Yeah.
leaving at 11 a.m. Good luck. Um, so it was in the end. I After I got off the phone call, I was like, man, I screwed myself over. I didn't want to cancel Jersey Shore per se because it would have been the same union that I was in on my old job, and
Oh.
it would have been a fair in terms of the benefits I already knew were
Was it
pretty.
11.99 or a
No,
different one?
it's called HPAE, so we share the same union with like the teachers, American
Oh,
whatever teachers. Um, they're the same union that Robert Wood has that went on strike.
Dang.
So yeah, so I was like, it would just be my mom has the same union. Like it's we kind of are familiar with the benefit package that they offer. So I was like, I don't want to like just cancel that.
Hmm.
So before that interview, I asked a couple people that knew other people from that hospital, like, hey, like, what's the deal? And like, they gave me reviews. So I kind of went in with my own like idea of what it could be and came to the interview, met the manager then, and I met some cath lab nurses at Sinai, EP lab nurses at um, Sinai as well. And
Hmm.
it was funny because they were pushing for me to go to the cath lab.
The
But
management or
the manager I
yeah.
met with, she's like, well, we have cath lab available if you want to take it. And I was like, well, I don't want to be on call. But she's like, it's strictly voluntary. You just do it when you want. And I was like, yeah, I've heard that before, except in the end, they
It's
told me
not.
to do it.
You got to take at least one a month or
Yep.
something like that. Yeah.
Yep. So at that point, she's like, well, go home, think about it, and let me know what you want to do at the end of the interview. And at that point, I knew what I wanted. So I walked out and I emailed her, hey,
EP.
EP.
2 letters. That's it.
Yeah, after that, it took about another, my start date was July, like end of July. And I interviewed, I want to say like in April or May. Yeah. And
Yeah, man.
I didn't
Takes a
get to take my
long time.
picture or anything for the hospital to the week before I started. And that was
It's a super slow process, which
it
is we
is a
talked about
slow,
it before. It's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and that was because I was calling people and pissing people off every day, being like, "Hey, like, what's going on with my application?" Like,
It's like I need some money. I need
I
a job.
start in a week. I start in a week, please. But I met people during my pictures, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like this is my third change in my restart day. Like they keep pushing it back."
Hmm.
Which I was like, oh, I hope that's not me because I just don't want to be home and not working.
That's true, right? It's like I got a mortgage to
Yeah,
pay.
I got things to take care of. So it's I'm as surprised as it can be, and not because I don't think that I'm not a good nurse or anything like that. I just think organizations like Mount Sinai, like it's by who you know.
Oh yeah,
You
for
have to
sure.
know someone to get you in there, and it's it's a great place to work at least from where I came from. What I always say is that you don't know how good you have it until you go out to somewhere else and you realize that you really had it good. Like
Mhm.
we get breaks. That's
Yeah,
unheard
isn't that wild?
of. When they told me you get breaks, like during my orientation, and I was like, yeah, he's only saying it because I'm on orientation. Like, let me get up orientation. But no, you get breaks. You
And you
actually
get legit breaks.
get
You're not
breaks.
getting called or
No,
anything.
no, and it's crazy. Like again, I work for another union hospital, and if you're taking a half-hour break, good luck, because the doctor will be calling like, "Hey, where's my next patient?" So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's different. It's great. I don't know. It's yeah, I couldn't be happier.
That's good. And I've been seeing you've been doing a lot of overtime too. Is that because you
Yeah.
have to pay for the wedding?
Well, yeah. So yeah, you gotta pay for the wedding. We've decided that we're not gonna take out any debt on the wedding because it's the stupidest thing that we can ever
Hmm.
do. We're gonna pay everything out of pocket,
Hmm.
and we're making progress. I told her I was like, I can do overtime and I can pay everything out of what I make, and then you can just save because then if I'm paying for the wedding, it cuts into how much I can save every month. So at
Hmm.
least we have some savings going,
Some,
and
yeah.
I have we're paying for the wedding as well. So yeah, I just don't want to take on debt. And
Yeah,
really,
definitely
what
not.
we have to pay for is not anything crazy. I mean, I'm just working overtime because I don't mind working overtime. I
That's
like
true.
working with the people I work with, and it makes it easy. So,
And we get paid pretty good
oh
for
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and like that overtime is pretty nice. And
very,
like what we already said, like we're guaranteed our breaks. So it's not like they're gonna like
of
run you
course.
down, you know?
Yeah, no, let me tell you, my old job, we were supposed to get a raise in January of last year, and I didn't see the raise until after I left.
Oh,
Like
what?
when they did my back pay for my PTOs left and all that is when I saw the raise hit for the last month I worked. So
Dang.
it's one of those things where like you're working hard and the thing about union is like yeah they'll negotiate on your behalf, but the hospital's
Mhm.
always going to strong arm you,
Yeah.
do your best to make sure you don't get what you want, you know.
Oh, 100%. Because
So
it's a money-making business, and they
yeah,
wanna
it
keep more in their pocket.
is. So it's great that like the first paycheck of the new year and you're like whoa, I got a raise and it's nice. And I told you already my pay went up about $15-20 an hour in Jersey.
Uh, that's wild. Like, isn't that I find
Yeah,
that so crazy that the nursing pay could be so like, such a big range,
yeah.
and you're not even that far in, like, a radius from each other, you know?
No, we're in Newark, dude. We're like where I worked, 10 minutes from New York City.
And they're like,
You
"Nope,
know,
you get $20 less,
yeah,
$20 an hour."
it's crazy, and it's funny because when I got certified, like both for my PCCN and CCRN, they never gave me the
Did you
pay.
hand that in to Sinai?
Yeah, when I first came in, I handed it
Okay.
in. I
Just make
got
sure you
the
get that certification pay.
credential. But it's funny when I got certified, the hospital I worked at paid for it, but I was supposed to get a certain amount of pay raise for the
Mhm.
certification. I never did,
Damn.
because they make sure that they pile you up with as much paperwork as possible. And when
Mhm.
you do it, it's just like, oh, you send it to the wrong department, send it here, send it there. And then at the end, it's just so much time consuming for the dollar pay raise that they're going to give you. It's just
Mhm.
like, it's
Is it
not
worth it
worth
right now?
it. So yeah, it's crazy the difference in pay. And even where I'm at, like I'm in freaking mountains of Jersey, and um,
Mhm.
it's even less than when I worked at Newark.
Yeah,
Like the
that
pay for nurses, it's like 34 or 32 for a new grad nurse.
an hour?
Yeah, in New
Damn,
Jersey.
that is really low.
That's crazy low. That is like insane. Yeah, so it's like when I was working a per diem there, the hospital close by, my per diem rate, which is usually higher than your hourly rate for a staff nurse,
Mhm.
it was 44.
Oh, wow. So, not
Yeah,
even
that's
and,
that's
like
the regular
and that
pay.
yeah, that's a r like, our regular pay in
Yeah,
Sinai is probably almost
yeah.
1.5 that,
Oh
or
yeah,
even more, or maybe
yeah.
even double depending on your experience kinda thing.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's such a stark difference depending on where you end up in the state of New Jersey. I'm not sure about New York, but at least in Jersey, it's so different. And there are hospitals that would like really be really willing to pay you, but in the end, it's just that you lose out on other things like no union or
Mhm.
stuff like that. But
Since we you have so much
I think
experience.
this is the first time I feel very well compensated.
Obviously,
Yeah.
we'd always want more, but then we just get greedy. But question, like,
Sorry, go ahead.
since you're so, since you have a lot of experience, Cath, EP, super valuable experience,
Mhm.
why not do travel nursing? Like, local travel and get,
Yeah.
like, bigger paycheck.
Yeah, so I thought about it. It's one of those things where it's like it's great if I was like single,
Single.
living in an apartment, like I don't have any, or like even like living with parents but paying for the rent of the travel location.
Mhm,
Because the thing about traveling is, yeah, they tell you 4 grand a week, yes,
mhm,
but half of that is not taxed, and
mhm.
you need to show that you actually use that stipend for your rent. They don't really
Yeah,
care about the meals. Rent is one thing. I thought about it. The problem with that is the pay is not consistent, right? Every year is going to go either up or down.
that's true.
That COVID money flew, which I keep hitting myself for. I
Oh,
should
me too, dude. I hate myself all the
have.
time for not taking those contracts.
Yep, but that's gone. That's not there. It's not like, especially if you have bills, like you have a mortgage, you have things to take care of. It's a risky business to be in, you know.
That's true.
Um, so it just, and plus what I'm making now a week at Sinai after taxes is what most travelers are making a
That's what's
week.
true. Because I, like, look at it. I look at
Yeah,
like the Vivian app and all that. I'm like,
mhm,
I'm making that. I'm making actually more than that right now. And
yep,
when I get
yep,
all like the texts and all that, oh, you could get this. I'm like, it'll have to be
yep,
like higher than that because I'm not going to
yeah,
leave
yeah,
this and the union job where I know I'm
yeah,
stable.
yep. And you gotta think about, you gotta pay for your own insurance. You gotta pay
Oh
for
yeah,
you gotta pay into your own 401k if the company doesn't offer stuff like that. They eventually you're just going to get staff pay,
pretty much.
and
And you're going to get the worst assignments because you're the traveler.
right. Right, and my friend still travels. I worked with him. He worked in university in the ER, trauma nurse, super smart, very good at his job. And I've been trying to recruit him to the EP lab, and he's just like, I don't know if I can do the slow pace. I'm like, dude, it's different. Like this lab has high volume, fast turnovers. It's so different. It's almost
Hmm.
as close to a cath lab, our turnover rate. We're doing ablations in 2 hours, right? Like
Yeah,
it's unheard of. We're like light years ahead of a
everyone
lot of
else.
hospitals. Yeah, it's crazy. So I was like, it's you think you're going to be bored, but you are not. Like you're going to,
Hmm.
yeah, like you're not going to be like in there in a cracked open chest doing whatever.
Hmm.
But like you have stable job, you have a stable income, like. But he's still traveling, and he's on a contract in Newark in another hospital, and he hates the place. But it's about the only contract that pays well so far.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
So,
a like you said, that's a tough part, finding the contracts that actually pay
yeah,
well, and
yeah,
usually those ones right now are the ones that are on strike or
right,
really terrible, and, like, you're just going
yeah,
to very bad working conditions, and
right.
why put yourself into, like, a stressful situation when
Hmm.
there's a lot of options out
Yeah,
there, right?
I mean, like I said, I've just been trying to get him over, and he's just not biting quite yet. So hopefully one day he will
Maybe
decide.
one day. So let's jump into some other stuff because Georgie, our tech, always talks to us, and he says like you're really financially savvy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know so much about being financially savvy. It's just that I read a lot. I learn a lot. The internet is a great tool to learn a lot
Hmm.
of things. You're going to have some bogus advices out there
Oh
for
yeah, for
sure.
sure.
You just have to, at the end of the day, protect yourself. Think of yourself, right? You don't want to do something that someone did that's illegal and or
Yeah,
borderline gray line,
yeah.
and be like, I'm going to do it because I can. Like my
If he
dad
got away
always,
with it, I could probably do
yeah.
it.
My dad always says that the fact that it's not illegal doesn't mean you should do it. And
Hmm.
he said this when my brother was like, I want to do a wedding, but I have an LLC and I want to turn it into a business conference so that I put my cards out and I can claim all the wedding under this. And my dad is like, I don't think it's legal, but it doesn't mean you should do it because you really have to sell them on why you bought $1,000 cake, right?
Yes.
Why you needed an MC or a DJ that cost $6,000.
Uh,
So, uh,
that's where a lot of people mess up because like I
yeah,
have a few LLCs. You said you had one too,
yeah,
and like I tried not to do big things because I don't. They're considered like small businesses.
yeah.
Like yeah, we could go out for dinner and all that, and I'll put it on the
Mhm.
card. It'll help me get the
Right.
tax write off. But then throwing like, imagine if I did like a birthday party for my
Yeah.
kid under the business. I'm like,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
not a line I wanna I wanna
That's
blur.
for sure. Yep. And it's you just like the thing that people are still yet to grasp. If you're an average working W-2 employee,
Mhm,
it's either you're, and in our case, nurses, for example, a lot of nurses, like we get paid fairly decently and we get pay raises. So every time the pay raise goes up, people increase your style of living, right? So
yep,
like they're never at this position where it's like my living style's here and then my pay is up here, right? It's
that's
always like
true,
either your style of living is above it or right there.
that's true.
And that's a mistake that a lot of nurses make. If you think about it, people can retire at 50,
Mhm,
55 comfortably with just living off of investments and all that stuff as a
yeah,
nurse. And it's not, unfortunately, not possible for a lot of us because, we just don't know how to budget or do proper investments or even invest at all, right?
Yeah, super
Um,
true. Like
yeah.
one of the biggest ones for us, because we are paid pretty well, like
Hmm.
we're six-figure earners, like around like
Of
the
course. Yeah.
130s to 160s base,
Yeah.
depending on how long you've have experience. But
Right.
then these same nurses, instead of like the biggest thing is obviously the mortgage, they're buying that $1 million home, and now you're just house broke, just
Yeah.
slaving away to
Yeah.
pay the mortgage payment, pay the utilities, a house that's
Yeah.
way too big, and
Yeah.
then what has to match the house? That good
Yeah.
old car.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
they go
Right.
there too,
Right.
and then,
The,
like you
the
said, the lifestyle
Mercedes and the
inflation.
Audis and
Mhm.
I again, like I came from a home where my mom was a nurse, and there was a time where she only drove Mercedeses, right? So she would customize that shit from the wheel to like the seat, and she had heated and ventilated seats in her 2005 Mercedes.
Dang.
That is,
Before it even a thing.
yeah. So again, like I'm sure she was able to afford it, okay, but she probably could have gotten like a
Nice little
Toyota,
Honda, Toyota.
like you know what I mean, like a Prius or something, just to not have to. And again, she was able to afford it, great, but that extra money could have gone somewhere else. You know, like
Yep,
spending 50 grand on a car is a lot.
it is.
And then if you're financing it, you're paying more than 50 grand.
Yeah,
So
probably
what
closer
I
to
was
70, 80.
yeah. And then the ones that are money savvy just think about savings, right? Save all your money, don't have any debt, and you'll be great. You'll be good. And that's a good advice. But the thing in America is you need debt to be
There
successful.
you
There's
go.
so many things. Like debt is like kin. Honestly, it is. Like it's so attractive to a lot of banks, and
Mhm.
it just doesn't make sense, but it is. So I was having a conversation with George, and we're talking about watches, and he's like, "I would love to buy this watch, but it costs this much, and I don't want to, spend that much money
All
on it."
that at once. Have it.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So I was like, "Well, George, there's something called a balance transfer. You can get a credit card or even a credit card that you already have. They run promotions every year, every day for 0% balance transfer for 12 months. If you,
12, 18,
yeah,
24, depending.
however, how long you want it. If you think you can pay that money off in that amount of time, go for it.
Mhm.
Use that card, whatever, transfer the balance over once you pay for the watch and pay it over 12 months. You bought a watch for what, 5,000, 10,000, you paid over 12 months if you think you can afford it. Because again, like you got to be careful not to pile up more debt on top
That
of
on
it.
top of it. Yep.
So
Like, that's
that's always.
exactly what I did. Like, I was telling him too. I was like, "Dude,
Mhm.
I have the money to buy the Rolex that I bought, right?
Right.
But why would I wanna see, like,
Yep.
the
Just
$10,000
vanish.
vanish out of my bank account?" I was
Yep.
like, I knew I was gonna go get it, so I
Yep.
opened up I think with Discover, it's like an 18-month 0% interest.
Yeah.
And then so I put the Rolex on my Venture X card,
Yeah.
so I get the points. So
Hmm.
I could have a free flight, and then
Yep.
once it hit the statement, Balance transferred it to the next card, and now I'm just gonna pay like a few hundred
Yep.
bucks a month, and
Yep.
by the time the 18 months is done, I'll maybe have like 2 grand left in. If I
Hmm.
wanted to,
You
balance
can
transfer
transfer.
that to another
Yep.
card, and then
Yep.
just keep
That's
it going.
it's crazy, and I think that's the concept that people are still yet to grasp. Like you need that to be successful in so many things in this country. Um, like it's crazy. Like my fiance's family are like, save, save, save. Like I mean, they
Yeah.
have money to do whatever the hell they want to do. It's just
Mhm.
they're very like no debt. Like
Mhm.
they paid off their student loans. Like they're like everything is paid up, and that's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. But I feel like that money that you used to pay it off, like when I first got my
Could have been
house,
worked. Could have been
could have
working
worked
for
for
you.
you. It would have
Yeah.
worked for you. When we bought this home and we realized that we bought a home that was way below like our income, we were paying $1,000 extra towards our mortgage every month.
Mhm.
My dad
That's
looked at me, yeah, that's a
That's
lot.
it's a lot because you're getting a lot more equity, but then it's
Mhm.
$1,000 a month, and then
That's
you're just
yeah,
like
yeah,
$12,000 a year. What could you be doing with that money?
right. And I was telling my dad, I was like, oh, like we have, like, even after paying 1,000 more, we've got even more money if you want to if you want to buy another property. And he's like, 1,000 more? It's like, yeah, towards our mortgage. He's like, that's the stupidest thing anyone would ever
Especially if your
do.
interest rate is like what, below 4?
Yeah, right. He's like, why would you want to pay off the house faster if that money that you just put towards it could have done literally just put in an S&P 500 and you're fine. That
Hmm.
money would have tripled, double, whatever it is, and you would have gained that whatever you paid into that mortgage and then some.
Hmm.
So like, yeah, like those are little things that we don't think about. Like we think, oh, we're wiping out debt, but your money could be working for you in another way that you don't have to. Like, just it almost feels like you're giving them free money.
Right? You're giving them free money, and like, so obviously people think of debt as like a super bad word because that's how it's brought
Yep.
up when we're being
Yep.
taught. But just like you, I've been like reading a lot and
Mhm.
podcasts and seeing how
Yep.
people use it
Right.
to make their
Leverage.
wealth.
Yep.
And then like, so like for a house, like I was talking to my accountant last year, I was like, oh, should I just pay off my rental
Mhm.
properties? She was like, why?
Why?
I was like, you have someone paying it off, and even
Yep.
if it goes empty for a little bit, guess what? You'll end up paying
You
those
will.
months,
Yeah.
but all that mortgage interest that is getting tacked on is a
Mhm.
tax write-off.
It
So
is.
once you get rid of that, now
You just say,
now you're
oh,
fucked again because now you're
yeah,
going to be paying more money in taxes.
taxes. Yep. Yep.
It's
That's
like,
exactly what it is. And yeah, we like it's crazy. Like, yeah, we're happy that we paid a good chunk of the mortgage off, but in the end, after I heard that, I was like, man, if I was to put that money somewhere else.
no, it's true because for my primary house, right? The
Right.
one I'm in right now,
Mhm.
for the first 2 years, I was doing a similar thing, anywhere from
Yeah.
500 to a grand a month. And then, like, my dad is one of those types, like, no debt, no debt. He paid off
Yeah.
his house in like 7 years, kind of like a Dave Ramsey type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if you pay it off, that means your whole paycheck that used to go to your mortgage is now in your pocket. I get
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
100% get it. But I
Yep.
have a 2.7% interest rate. That is free
Please.
money.
That's nothing.
And then, like, once I did that, and I like how many tens of thousands I'd end up
Yeah.
putting into the equity. So that made me take out a HELOC because it's like, I need my money back. So I need to figure out a way so I
Okay.
could use
Yeah.
that equity because now I feel
Yep.
like an idiot for
Yep.
putting like say like $30,000 that I can't touch, but now at least I can with a
Yeah.
interest rate. But then there's like so many other avenues you could go down, which would be for another video where you could do like I think it's called like
Mhm.
velocity banking, using debt
Right. Yeah.
to kill your debt or if you
Mhm.
or pay off stuff. But
Yeah.
then like that's a like an amazing thing. Like you said, like if you don't know how to use debt properly,
Right.
you're gonna like fuck yourself up.
Yeah.
But if you can, your wealth can grow exponentially in such a
Mhm.
short amount of time.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's funny because this like going back to the wedding, like we're planning on paying things out of pocket, and we have family helping us and whatnot, and we're like, yeah, but we don't feel like paying 3 grand every 5 months or
Like
whatever
every
towards
installment
this.
or whatever.
Right, right. So we were talking yesterday, and we're like, well, Bank of America has this, they have a balance transfer, and it's that's the only reason why I keep a Bank of America credit card, because I honestly have my own opinions about them.
Yeah. I probably
They
have the
have,
same similar ones.
yeah, they have balance transfers where you can get, it's called like something deposit, where it's pretty much you're giving a cold hard cash. Again, it's a
Yeah,
trap
right to your
if you
bank
want the
account.
money
Yeah.
going, right? Because instead of using it for your debt, you could literally go in more debt.
Yeah.
And we're like, we can do that. And instead of paying 3 grand every 3 months, you have 12, 18 months to pay this off, zero interest. Like, you just
Mhm.
do that. And, you're like, at the end of the day, the interest rate that you're not going to be paying makes up for the 3% fee they charge you
Oh yeah,
up
it's
front. Like,
hardly anything.
it's a no brainer. And I think, like, after we talked, I was talking to my brother. He's like, oh, yeah, like I had a friend that would do that, would take the cash, put it in a high yield savings account, and make money back. And I was like, wait, what was the percentage on the high yield savings account? Because
Right.
if it's like 5%, you're not making a whole lot.
Like,
And
you're just
after
the spread is
taxes,
only 2.
yeah, you're just cutting your costs and giving them their money back.
Yeah.
So
If anything, that's more stressful because like,
it
man, I'm
is.
only gonna make 2%.
Yep.
Like for now I have to watch this until like
Yep.
17 months and 30 days before it hits the
Right.
31st before you hit
Right.
like a 25%.
So there are so many ways that make your life uncomplicated without throwing chunks of money towards things, and you can put money towards things that are more important. Like it's hard whipping out 10 grand or 20
It
or
is.
whatever for anything. So if there's a way you could do it in installments with no added interest, I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. And spreading it out over X
Yeah.
amount of time, 10 grand over a year is not bad.
That's no, it really is not, because you were willing to put out 10 grand in a day. So,
Exactly.
so yeah, it really
And
is
that,
not. And yeah, you just learn these things just from reading and all that. I'm happy to have a very business savvy dad and not so business savvy mom, because he learned the mistakes and
you
not
have both worlds.
mistakes.
Yeah, you got to see both worlds with it. So, since we're talking about the wedding, so when me
Yeah.
and my wife got married, my wife is like a master negotiator. I'm like, just tell me the
Right.
price, let's pay it,
Yep.
and let's
Yep.
keep it going. But she was able to like photography, flowers, videography, even our venue. The negotiation was if we could pay you cash, how big of a discount can we
Yeah.
get? And
It
then it would actually be like a huge discount, especially
is.
like instead of paying what, like 8 grand for photographer, videographer thing, we
Yep.
asked to pay cash and then end up being half because obviously they don't have to claim it on their
Right. Because
taxes.
taxes. Yeah. It's
So
crazy.
like that's like a huge thing. And then, this is when I wish I knew about like for the balance transfers, like
Yep.
I know Discover does it because they asked me when I did the balance transfer, do you just want the money to go straight to your bank or do you want me to
Right.
put it
You
on
want.
the credit balance?
Yep.
And I was like, it's probably easier to put it just on the credit balance so it doesn't I just
Right.
don't see 10 grand in my bank
In my
account and
bank
I'm like, oh
account.
damn, what can I do with this right now? But that could have been something we could have did to not have
Yep.
to spend that 4 to 6
That
grand
much money. Yep.
right up front and be like, oh, let's just spread it out a little bit and
Yeah.
not feel tight once the wedding is over.
It's
Because
over.
obviously you could get the honeymoon and then we went
Right.
house hunting
Right.
and be like, you had such a big bank account, then you had the wedding, it goes
And then
down.
it goes down. Yep.
But like it
Yeah.
could have technically stayed at a more comfortable level
Definitely.
visually if you could have just spread it out. So that's
Yeah.
something I wish I knew in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of my biggest fears is emptying out my savings for whatever and being something gone broke in my house and just
Not being
being
able to
out of
cover it.
cash. Yep. So I'm always looking for different ways to spend that big money for whatever I need and then not having to come out of my account, pay it over time, and just not have to worry about not having any money. So we really are like doing our best to do the least for our wedding. Like
The
like
best to do the least. I like it.
yeah. Like, we're and the my fiance's favorite saying is we want to do something that is like inexpensive, but we also don't want people to think that we don't have the money for it, and that's why we're
Yeah.
doing it. So we're doing the venue is Maritime Park in Jersey City. It's a beautiful place at Liberty State Park, views of the Statue of Liberty, the New York skyline. And we're like, this is it, because people know you can afford this, but you're choosing to not do this because you don't want it, not because you can't afford it.
Yeah.
And it's great. We are putting money towards the things that we actually want. Like there's going to be a shit ton of food. Like we're just, it's a small wedding, like 50 people, so it's going to be
So you got the
like
top shelf bar.
yeah, like everything. Like we're even going to have a cigar
Oh, dope.
cigar and scotch bar. which I'm like, I've never smoked before, so I guess it would be cool to have
I guess
people
so.
who do. But it's weird how like like again, like I'm from like an African family, so the way people flaunt your wealth is bigger bling,
Oh
um
yeah.
like beautiful cars, huge rims on like a nice, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, of course.
it's not it anymore. Everything is like, how can I live my life comfortably, but people not think I'm broke or I don't have the money to afford it, you know? And it's like, okay, well, buy a nice watch that is very low key, but it's worth a shit ton of money, you know? Um, like
And just wear it to work and watch the
yeah,
doctor just stare at you like, what
there,
the
yeah.
hell? How is this nurse
Right.
wearing that?
So it is, you think of things very differently as you grow up, and we're you know, like it's just, I think I'm happy with how we're living our lives. Like we spend most of our time in our home, like when we're going out, like have the most fun, you know, like we can do whatever we want
Yeah,
because we
like the
have the
money
money
isn't the
to.
issue. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we sat down one day and we were talking about the trips that we've taken. We've flown to Canada twice. We've gone to DR at least in the last year, and we flew first class for every single one of
Oh
them.
dang, look at fucking baller.
Yeah, and we didn't pay a single dime for it.
There,
We
oh, so you
paid
do a lot of
about
points.
Yeah, we paid about 250 for the flight insurance for each
Mhm,
flight, but that's it. I mean, again, like Amex get a bad rap because their annual fees and whatnot, but you
mhm,
just need to know how to use that stuff. You know, like we have the platinum and we have the gold. The gold is awesome for eating and dining out, and you get all the
mhm.
points. You get 4 times the points and groceries and all that. In this economy where one grocery trip costs about five hundred
Yeah,
dollars,
yeah.
that is 2,000 you know, so it's a lot of points. And then at the end of the year, you're like, we're booking our honeymoon. What can we do? And we booked the first class flight, and we just paid for the flight insurance.
That's it,
So
and it's
it's,
free because you already
you
paid your
already
dues
paid.
throughout
Yeah,
the year, or throughout the
right.
years of you putting in points to the
Yep.
card.
So like, it's crazy, and like, you know, these are things that no one teaches you or no one tells you, because we thought once we bought a home we're never going to take a vacation.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're like, all our money is going to be into this house and we're done. But we've taken
No,
more vacations than we would if we when we didn't own a home.
and it's true. Like, so I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this. I'll see if I cut it out later. But for conferences, for us, we are
Right.
allowed conference time. So I got approved for the
Mhm.
Disneyland conference that I did last year,
Yep.
and so that's for me, flight and hotel paid for
Hmm.
through where we
Through the,
work.
yeah.
And since we put almost every expense on like my Venture X card,
Hmm.
we have hundreds of thousands of points. And I'm not going to go to Disneyland without my wife and kids. Like
Yep.
I already have a hotel paid for,
Yep.
so let me just book it. And I think I'm only paying like maybe $300 out of pocket, and
Yeah.
that's flying out 3 people with me
That's
to
crazy.
go to Disneyland. For me to go to
That's
a conference, like I'll go to the conference and I'll
Yeah.
meet you at
Yeah.
Disneyland in a second.
Then have your fun, you know,
Yeah,
like
and you're having
enjoy it with
fun.
your family. And I mean, it's again, like it's not illegal. You're paying
Yeah,
for it, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But take advantage of what you can get.
yeah. It's like a $10,000 vacation
Literally, it
on
is to
where
Disney.
I'm only paying 300, $400
Yep.
where because I was able to use points and I was able to I'm not gonna say game the system, but
But no,
able to use it the right way
your
to
job. Yep.
benefit me.
Yep.
Like why not? Like there's
Yeah.
so
Why
many
not
ways.
do it?
And the
Yeah.
thing that's crazy, like how you brought it up, is that I only started looking into using points better maybe like 2 years ago. And like I've been kicking myself because
Yeah.
I've been going to like all inclusives and all that with
Right.
my wife, but then girlfriend since
Mhm.
like 2015, 2016. And like we were
Yeah.
just doing like cheapcaribbean.com
Yep.
or
Yeah.
Expedia looking for the cheapest things instead of just like having a good card with the right points, and you could have got
Hmm.
there cheaper or
Yep.
free, which is wild.
It's crazy. Like it repay between the two cards, repay about 900, almost $1,000 for annual fees. But what you get at the end, I mean, like the points itself multiplying by 4 times and being able to
Hmm.
book a first class flight without paying anything but the insurance to make sure that you can cancel. It's like it's so great. You get, and there's so many things. Like again, Amex is not the same as it used to be. People would say, because it used to
Hmm.
be like a luxury card. Now it really is like it's okay. Like everyone and their mom can apply for one.
Hmm.
But like the lounges is one thing. Like yeah, you can
Hmm.
enjoy the lounges in the hotel, which is a different experience. Like, but the fact that like we have Spotify, Disney, ESPN Plus, all that stuff, and we don't pay for it because they give you credit every month for that.
Hmm.
Walmart
Like that's
Plus,
huge.
yeah,
It
Walmart
pays
Plus,
for like it kind of like pays for itself in a way.
it pays for itself in a way. And then if you think about the points multiplying, you're gaining more from it. And even last year, I was kicking myself because I didn't get to use the hotel credit. $200 hotel credit. It just kind of slipped my mind and it just sneaked in. I was like, man.
Like,
But
can I roll this over somehow?
yeah, like it was 31st, and I was asking my fiance, can we book a trip for like anywhere? Just
Anywhere,
like
weekend trip, something.
but it's even that, like you're still getting a lot from it. And one thing that I do that my mom was like, "Why would you do that?" Is other than my mortgage and a couple of things that like you need an account number for. I use a credit card for everything because I get the points back.
Yeah,
Like even if it's 1 point, I'm getting something. My
yeah.
debit card is not giving me that. I don't know where my debit card is. um, because there's no ATMs near me, because I never need to take money. So it's always just my credit card, and it's been just fine. It's just people, again, the same idea where like people don't know what a good debt and a bad debt is, right? Like you
Yeah.
just
They all
and
just
then
think debt is just overall bad.
yep, yep, and then they
Like,
just kind of get scared by it. It's unfortunate, but
but at least you're one of the ones that could help educate at in the lab too. Because
yeah,
I get a lot of questions too. They're like, "Oh, so how do I do this?" I was like,
right.
well, I'm putting in an IV. Like a nurse would be like, I saw your video. Can you help me with something? I'm like, I'm with a patient. I saw, oh, but this is my free time. I was like, I'm literally working right now.
Yeah, right.
No,
Oh
but
my god,
it's such
that's
a
hilarious.
good thing to know because like
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have the problem of they don't understand how to treat their credit card like a debit card. Think of
Hmm.
it as like, oh damn, I spent the money. Let me make sure I have enough to pay off what I
Yeah.
spent
Every
right at
month.
this every month,
Yep.
right when the
Yep.
statement's due.
Yep.
Because that's how you just bury yourself
In debt.
in outstanding balances in bad debt where now instead of you could have technically had like that free money for the month, now
Hmm.
you're going to pay 25% on
Yep.
whatever is left on it, and that just buries you.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I don't know how many credit cards I have. I haven't.
I have a
I
lot. I have
just
a
don't
lot.
know.
I
I
have a
don't
lot.
know. I just carry two credit cards with me because if one they don't take one, I could use the other one. Um, always have a Visa credit card, but other than that, like I just applied for a new credit card last 2 months ago because they were offering, I think it was like a 10.8% interest rate on a freaking credit card. Are you out of your mind? I
10%?
think it's like 10 or 12, something like that. And I'm like, so it's a credit union. So like again, like that didn't really shock me. So I was like, sure, count me in. So I applied, got it, and then I was like, hey, my car, like that 10 grand I have left. Can you do that? Then like you end up paying it off anyway. But it's just that like it's something where if God forbid that 1 month I don't think I'll be able to pay off my debt, I can move it to that credit card. That 12% is better than the 25% on another credit card.
It's true.
Um, but it just I don't know. I just have so many, I just
And
don't use them
it's
all.
just simple math at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
it is. It really is. And what people say is, oh, like your credit goes down when you apply for a new card. I get that, but also every
Once
credit
you
limit
pay
they
off,
give
what?
you,
Yeah.
right? Once you pay it off, you're fine. But then every credit limit they give you adds up, right? Like you may have 5 credit cards, and your credit limit of like $200,000 between all those cards. If 1 month you or 1 year you just did so bad and you ran up that credit to 50, $100,000, you're still not maxing out your credit.
Yeah, your
Period.
credit utilization. So you're not really gonna really
Right.
kill
You're
your
not really
credit.
going to tank your credit. And it's just little things like that. But people are like, oh, just one credit card, one debit card, and that's all I need. And it's like, no.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think I'm gonna game this system.
Yeah.
Other people do it way better, but I'm
Hmm.
figuring it out. Like I have a
Right.
little red book in my bedroom that has like a bunch of credit cards.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like right when I figured out the balance transfers and the points
Hmm.
and like the special offers, once it doesn't do me any good anymore, I pretty much just like put it in there, and I put a little cut in it with like a scissor, be like, oh, this is one I just don't use anymore.
Right.
And then you don't cancel them. Let them cancel
Let
your
it,
credit card so it
yep.
doesn't hurt your credit.
Yeah. You let them do it, and I would like put maybe a little thing like before I had the Amex, I'll put like Spotify on $6 or whatever every month, so at least they think of using a
I'm
credit
using it, right?
card, and I'll just keep doing that just to keep it open. But nowadays, unless you're just leaving that thing to sit for years, they're not just going to cancel
Yeah, yeah.
it.
It
um,
took my like JetBlue card. I haven't used it in like 7 years. It took them year 7 for them to cancel out on that. And then like
yeah.
what? It dropped my credit like 3 points. And then instead of
Wow.
like if I cancel it myself, it would probably like dropped it like 50 to
Right.
100.
Well, yeah, definitely. So, because then if you like how many years you have you're building up your
Hmm.
credit years and all that stuff. So you don't want to just cancel it yourself because then
Yeah,
you screw yourself over in so many ways.
yeah. Like
But
you said, you'd rather have the credit lines
yeah,
open just in case. Imagine having the 100 to $200,000 of credit if you
mhm,
needed it.
if you needed it,
Yeah.
which is crazy because the card every my one day we wanted to like we were looking at cars. I don't know if I told you we had a car that like we lemon law it because it has so many issues with it.
Mm.
But um when we needed a new car, I was like, if I was to pay for the full price right now, would you take it? And that was like because I had so much credit limit, like my Amex is a charge card. I could have put a $30,000 car on it and be like, yeah.
Done. Yeah, like
As
done.
long as you don't get screwed with interest, like figure out a way to pay it off or move it. But it's just like you can pay for big things like that and not have to worry about how I'm afford it or how's it going to screw over my credit because you have
Mhm.
enough credit line and not have to worry. So yeah, it's a weird system. It is credit and debt and everything in the country is just really
That's how
weird.
it's built, man.
Yeah, and I'm still learning, and it's definitely different from where I come from in Ghana, where I don't think credit cards are a thing,
Hmm.
right? So you work, you make your money, and
You pay.
you get to spend what you made. So it's I'm not surprised a lot of Ghanaians still live by the idea that debt free. They rather live paycheck to paycheck, buying expensive nonsense just to show that they made some money,
Hmm.
instead of learning how to leverage debt. And like it's sad, but I'm not. What can you
Can't
do?
teach everyone. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's sad, but at least you put in the work to find out how to
yeah,
leverage it for
yeah.
yourself. And then obviously, if people really wanted to learn about it, people really wanted to figure it out, at least you could technically be a resource.
Right. Yeah, and that's I'm not gonna like gatekeep it. Like it's
Yeah.
if you
It's
have
out there
any.
on the internet.
Yeah, it literally is everywhere. If you ask me something I know the answer to, for sure, I'll be more than happy to tell you because what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, other than helping myself, who else am I going to
and just
like,
like it certifies it in your head, being like, yes, this is exactly what I do,
yeah.
and it's working out for me.
Hmm.
So I'm giving you the blueprint on how to do
Right.
it.
Right. And it's always like when you watch it or read or whatever on the internet, people will tell you like, oh yeah, balance transfer is a great thing. But then like one thing that they will never tell you, or some people will never tell you, is be careful not to spend that money because you think you have extra
Because you
money.
think you
And
still have it.
yeah, and that's the one thing that I always do my due diligence, telling people like, just know that if you take that money out, don't use it for other things and be
Mm-hmm.
20,000 in debt instead of 10 grand in debt, because then you're just screwing yourself over. You just need to know, you need some discipline, you need some
Yeah.
self-discipline, and being able to manage your money and manage your debt, period.
Period. Period. So we're hitting the hour mark here. So
Mhm.
if you had to, if someone was asking you for your advice, like where would you send them? Like in any books, any website? Like what helped you the most to pretty much, since we ended up talking about debt, what helped you manage
Yeah.
leveraging your life with debt?
So for me, it's very weird because the way I get a lot of my resources, like I'll read one thing online, right?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, you see an article on like some like money website, and then you're curious. So then it's funny because I hated Reddit for the longest time, and it's
Bro,
not my
Reddit
only
is it.
source.
I
Yeah,
love Reddit.
it's definitely not my only source, but I feel like Reddit has real people that would be honest with you and be like, that is the dumbest thing you will ever do, or that is the smartest thing you will ever do. And I think that's probably what they get a bad rep for, because people are brutally honest and they would tear you apart. So
Hmm.
oftentimes, a lot of the questions I have, people have already asked it,
Asked it.
and you just search it and you find it and you just read into it. It's a great tool. You just kind of have to be you have to be able to filter out the good and the bad, right? Because you're always
Hmm.
going to have the one person that's, well, I did it this way and it worked out for me.
Yeah.
And it may not be right for you.
Yeah.
So it's always like a great tool to use. I feel like it's the easiest tool to use. There's a lot of podcasts out there, and
Hmm.
Spotify, Apple, what is it, the Apple podcast,
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
that a lot of, like, there's so many out there that people would just be willing to give you advice on that. Just do your due diligence and do your research, find out how true it is, if it even works for you, and go for there. Because like, I think it's still the talk, but a year ago, or maybe, people were like, "Oh, real estate is the way to go. Get a duplex." Like when we were getting a home, our CPA, who's like our family, like through my family, like my dad uses them, everyone uses them, and he's like, "Why don't you get a duplex and rent out the other
And
side
then
and
house
live
hack
in
it.
rent?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and let it pay for itself. I was like, I get that. It's a great idea, and don't get me wrong, I would do it if I was just by myself, but I just want my own space. I've
Yep.
lived with my parents enough. I just want to be independent and not have to worry about the neighbor next door.
Yeah, it's
So
true. It's definitely not for everyone. That's
right, it
yes,
definitely
like
is
there's
now.
it could definitely bring you wealth maybe a little bit quicker,
Definitely.
but it's definitely not for
Yeah,
everyone. Like you
it,
said,
it
space
really,
is huge.
right. Because then, like, again, like, if you don't think it's possible for you to do it down the road, for us it was going to be, because we decided to live really far from a lot of things.
Mhm.
How far it is, we're about 40 minutes from the Poconos.
And an hour and change from your
From
actual
New York,
job.
yeah. And I commute an hour and 15, an hour and a half every day to Mount Sinai, and it is the greatest feeling coming home to a very quiet area
Yeah.
every day. It's just nice and quiet and hustle and bustle of the city. But that's a decision that we made because we knew that it would give us the opportunity to put our money in other things and not be house poor. We could have definitely afforded something in Bergen County and
Mhm.
be in a nice place close to everything. But then what do you lose? Money,
A lot of
right?
money.
Everything will
Yep.
be going towards mortgage and taxes and everything. So we made the decision knowing that we have bigger plans that we want to take care of, and you just go with it. That's sacrifices that people are not willing to make.
Willing to do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, an hour and a half, that's a lot. Well, I just went out and bought me an electric car that drives half the time for me, so I'm good. So like there's a trade-off. But it's the same thing. Like it's like um, you just kind of have to be willing to make the sacrifice. Just do it because you have to have a bigger goal in mind. And what's a bigger goal? So I don't have to work every day for the rest of my life. And how is that going to allow me to do it? Being able to afford my home and then afford other things that will be great investment for me down the road. And that's all you just got to think about. It's just the little things.
Yeah, man, you're. I like that. You're my coworker. Super insightful dude. Got a lot of. I like that you have a lot of your own thoughts. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of, especially nurses, it's probably everyone, where it's just a lot of like following of what's the flavor of the month or trying to
Yeah.
like on your own thinking, which is
Yeah.
great. For just to bring it back to nursing, because this is technically a nursing podcasting. Would you recommend nursing to? Would you recommend the career of going into nursing?
For me, if like, yeah, I would. I think it's a great career. I think it depends on what you make of it, right? So oftentimes, like people are loyal to a fault. So
Mm-hmm.
they get hired into their first job and they feel honored because it's great. You go from making minimum wage to making a fairly substantial amount after you graduate as a new grad nurse, and then you feel like you owe wherever you're working at that you're working at your whole life.
Yeah, because they
and
gave you that first opportunity.
and that's what burns out nurses. That's what drives a lot of people away from nursing. And nursing is one of those things where like the moment you lose any kind of like interest in what you're doing and you're just on autopilot, that is as dangerous as working with a blindfold on, because
Mm-hmm.
then your patients are going to suffer. You're
Mm-hmm.
prone to more errors than anything. It's bad. So what like I'll 100% recommend nursing to anyone that I see. If they ever ask me, you just need to know what you're looking for. You don't settle, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first got my first job, was in a step down cardiac unit, and I was like, oh, I could do this for the rest of my life. And then COVID hit. And
Yes.
then yeah, and then I cross trained to the ICU, and I was like, oh crap, I could do this for the rest of my life, from 6 patients to like 2 or 3
Two.
patients.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And then it just eventually you burn out,
Yeah.
and you just either you decide to just rock with it, just move on and find something better. And then I land in a cath lab, and it's like
One
greatest thing
patient at a
ever.
time. I can
Are
do this
you
forever.
kidding me? So yeah, it's just I think the problem is we're very loyal as nurses to a
Mm-hmm.
fault.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, and again, I think it's probably one of those jobs where you will meet a lot of people who have been in the same, not even the organization, just the same unit for like 30, 50 years. I'm like, I drop off patients here and it feels like chaos every day. How are you doing this for 50 years? Like, that's a lot. So, yeah, I think we get, unfortunately, the younger generation of nursing, I'm young, but the ones that came after me have much more opinions about things, and they're more willing
Mhm.
to take the risk of being like, peace out, and just
Yeah,
leaving a
true.
career in general, which is fine. I just think that they're not
You did,
exploring other things, right? Like, um, there's work from home opportunities, like case management. Like
yeah.
there's so many things you can do with this
Mhm.
career. It's crazy. I know a nurse who was a nurse practitioner at Morristown for their valve clinic, and she just left to work for a solar or software company because she had the experience as a manager for managing that kind of patient load. And I'm like, I won't even think about it. Like, how do you articulate being able to manage patients for valve clinic to managing the software? And it's crazy. and I feel like that's the beauty of this career. Like you just do not know where
Where
you
it could
can.
take you.
Yeah, and it's great. I think it's you can't find that anywhere else. A
That
doctor
is
is stuck
true.
as a doctor, right?
Yep.
A doctor
They
is a
could
doctor.
only doctor.
They can only doctor and maybe be a professor, right?
Mhm.
Like a pilot can only fly, maybe teach a pilot class. I don't know, but in nursing, it's so different, and it's you have entrepreneurs. Like you can do so much. You can start your own company. Like you can literally do the infusion company I work with was started by a nurse and his wife, who's also a nurse, and they do everything from top to bottom, like everything, and it's crazy. It's I think it's amazing what the career can take you to that people don't realize because they just don't know.
They just don't know. They just think it's just bedside crushing meds and wiping ass.
Yeah, yeah. Which I guess at some point everyone's got to do it,
They
right?
do
Because
it.
a lot of ICUs don't allow you to, or even cath labs don't allow you to just come from nursing school to there. So everyone's
Mhm.
got to do their part and just go through the messy part. But it's all worth it in the end. You just have to have a bigger goal.
That's true, man.
I mean, wiping ass. But yeah, I mean, I would never like I don't regret ever being a nurse. I don't regret like any decision I made to move on from one unit to another because I feel like
Mhm.
every unit gave me like the independence to be less like burnt out, honestly, you know.
And he gave you another skill to make you more marketable. That
Yep.
if you left, which we hope you don't, because you're a
Nah.
really freaking good nurse. You're like
Believe
I was telling like a
me,
lot of our coworkers, like,
I
damn,
want to stay here
Jeff is
forever.
really good, man. I was like, I was telling him, I hope we keep him for a while because this dude is good.
Because the listen, and I was telling you too. I was like, this is the first job that I had. And when I first got a job, my mom and I we talk like every day, and I was like, oh, this job is like great. I don't have to like put money into my retirement. Like my insurance is only like this much amount every month, which is like a quarter of what I was paying before. And
Oh
she's like,
wow.
what do you mean you don't have to put money into your retirement account? I was like, the hospital, someone does. She's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's what it's called, a pension. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, like we have the
Yeah,
pension part, and then if you signed up for the 403b, it
yeah,
automatically gets taken
yeah.
out
It
for you.
gives, yeah. So it's great, and it definitely gives me much more flexibility to put money into the 401k or Roth IRA account that I already have, and not have to worry about having one with a hospital, having one of my own, or it's great. It's definitely allowed me to do more with my money than I would have. Like now I don't feel scared being like I'm purchasing this ETF or this stock, and I'm worried about being too risky and losing out
Mhm.
because at least I have the hope that my pension will be better.
That's
I have
true.
a pension somewhere, so it's definitely great. So like when I first talked to you, like, oh yeah, I do short calls and all that. I was like, yeah, that's risky, but like it makes sense, right? Because you have your pension, and then you have the money that
You
you can.
have you have some flexibility to be a
Right,
little bit risky,
right, and that
and I can
is
show you how to do it, and then
yeah.
once I teach you it, you're gonna be, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
that's not that risky."
No. So that's like one of those things where I'm like, that's you don't get that. Like pensions don't exist anymore.
No,
I don't
that's
know if
true.
you guys know. They don't. I know it because I'm coming from a state job in Newark, and we don't. They sold out the pension to a 401k company or whatever, and yeah, they don't exist anymore, and it's crazy.
And now you're in this great workplace working with me. We for
Yeah.
the most part, we have really good coworkers.
No, for the most part, we do. I think we have a good mix of young people.
Hopefully, it'll get younger and younger when
Yeah,
they're good nurses, but they're also at retiring age. So, and
right.
then it'll be more and more fun. We get to go out. We'll
Yeah.
hopefully more and actually have more camaraderie within like the younger crew.
Mhm.
That'd be really cool to
Yeah.
have.
And like the doctors are fine. Like, yeah, everyone has their days, but it's just
It's just
it's
whatever.
a profession. They're for the most part they're good.
Yeah.
So it's a good place to work. Like I haven't been happier to show up to work
And you don't really look stressed at work, which is really good
No,
too.
because it's like EP is like a high specialty,
High
but
specialty.
but you once you know what you're doing, and it may take a year or two or whatever, everything just becomes second nature, right? Everything is routine. You're just repeating everything over and over. Patients are different for sure, and the approach may be a little different, but it is the same thing, and it's great. Like I think the nice thing about this lab is I get to also recover patients. So like people are like, "You sure you don't mind recovering?" I'm like, "No," because at my old
Fine.
place, yeah, at my old place, I was just in the lab, right? So I just did the procedures. I'm only seeing the patients right before I knock them out with Versed and fentanyl, and seeing them after I wake them up looking all groggy. So you don't get to spend that time, the 3 hours in the recovery area with the patient, where you're talking to them and you meet people, and
Mhm.
like again, like these are really like people who are not like scrubs. I mean, they own big corporations and all. It's crazy. Like so, it's definitely one of the greatest things about being in the recovery area. I don't mind it because I get to spend time with these
I,
patients.
you know, I'm really happy you brought that up because I'm always in the pre-op area. I also help with
Mhm,
recovery a lot. It
mhm.
just what I like to do. So
Right.
you already know I'm usually charge, pre-op,
Yeah.
recovery. I like to be outside of the
Yeah.
rooms nowadays because I like to mingle
Yeah.
with the patients. I like to know what they do, and
Yeah.
I feel like like you said, you never know where a connection might take you.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like I feel like I have a good bedside manner. I talk with a lot of people,
Mhm.
and then you just never know who you're gonna meet type of thing.
Yeah. It's definitely like one of those things where like when you work in med surg or step down, it's yeah, you meet people, but you have 8 other of them where
Mhm.
you gotta spend time with them in the 12-hour shift, which is sounds like a lot, but it's not. Um, and then you go in the ICU, all your patients are intubated, and you don't get to talk to them. So this is like the first time in so many years that I don't have 8 patients that are
That's true.
all like are talking. You know what I mean? So you have what 3 MX, and you can talk to them and spend as much time with
Yeah.
them, and you know
And most of them are appreciative of what
they're
you
very
do.
yeah, most of them are very much appreciative because you know the care that they're getting from everyone. Yeah, that's the one thing that everyone says like this. Everyone has been so great. Like it's great. I mean, that's one thing where also I feel like if you're working on med surg, makes it hard, right? Because you're not getting that instant gratification. You see the patient, they may be there for 2 days after you're off, and
That's
they're
true.
gone. Not everyone is coming back to bring bagels to thank you, but the thing about being an EP lab or even a cath lab is the instant gratification. I think I went from being addicted to the adrenaline in the ICU to being addicted to the instant gratification in a cath lab where they come in with a STEMI, you stent them, and all of a sudden the gray patient just has color all of a sudden. It's like they're thankful because you just saved their lives.
Yeah, that's
And it's the
huge.
same thing here where they feel thankful that the one thing, whatever they came in for, you know,
It's now gone.
feeling better. It's gone. They feel great, and it's that gratification goes a long way. It makes you want to come back for more, you
That's
know.
true, man.
So
And
yeah, I think I'm gonna be here for until they kick me out.
man, we're going on like a hour and 20. I really appreciate you hanging out with me, waking up early with me. I know you said you were
Definitely.
started off with a bad day, so
Nah.
hopefully this brightened it up a bit. We were laughing a lot,
Yeah.
so I appreciate you, man. And are you at work on Monday?
Tuesday, I'll be back.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, again, man, I
Yeah.
appreciate you. I got to go upstairs and help out with the kids again.
Well, thanks for taking the time out of your day.
Of
It's
course,
definitely great
man.
to talk to you. It's always great to talk to you guys.
All right. Later, bro.
All right, man. Thanks.
Bye.